Ellis, when you look at Bryant, what do you see?
Bryant's an interesting prospect. To pull Donovan Peoples-Jones back into this, Peoples-Jones is a guy who had the hype coming out of high school and doesn't live up to it in college and needs to, work on his route running and the second level. He can get off the line well. Now you look at a guy like Harrison Bryant. He's someone who peaks later, as you just said, playing tackle in high school and then goes to college. Didn't weigh anything and still needs to put weight on at the next level, quite frankly. But he peaks as you'd like to see a prospect grow throughout his college career and saves his best for last. An unanimous All-American, as you said, best tight end in college football. And this young man just knows how to get open. He wins at the line of scrimmage, much like Donovan Peoples-Jones. And he's also going to be able to go and get some footballs like Donovan Peoples-Jones. Where he's a better route runner than Peoples-Jones is intermediate. He can cut well at the top of routes. And not that Peoples-Jones can't. I just worry about his separation with cornerbacks in the NFL compared to the type of safeties and potentially linebackers Harrison Bryant's going to get. And I think this is telling that I'm talking a lot about Harrison Bryant as a receiver and comparing him to another receiver rather than a tight end, because at Florida Atlantic, they split him all over the formation. He was out wide a lot against Ohio State. You watch some of his other tape. He's inside more as a fullback, H-back type of guy. And then he's a traditional Y and can marry in a two tight end set also. So there's a lot that he can do and that Kevin Stefanski will potentially ask him to do eventually, depending on how this room shakes out. But he isn't a guy that's going to come in and be the focal point of the offense like he was at FAU. He doesn't need to do that, which is why he'll likely succeed. He knows what it's like to have everyone staring at him and have the attention. Now he can take advantage of one-on-one matchups and potentially just wide open, schemed up situations. And the one place I got to push back on that he's ready to be an NFL tight end is his size. He's a 240. He looks more like 235 on tape. Austin Hooper is 255. The Zach Ertzes of the world, 250. George Kittle, 250. Kelsey, 260. He's got to put a little more weight on to use that lineman background he has to actually move some NFL defensive linemen. I'm assuming he'll do that in time. But right now as a rookie, depending on if he can get on the field, Kevin Stefanski's got a smart, intelligent, young football player who's going to know how to get open, and he'll have opportunities to do so, assuming he's on the field, because he's just a natural football player.
What you've described would be a guy that's a tough matchup for defenses, which is what you're really looking for throughout the. I mean, that's what Kareem Hunt is. You can use him in the fullback slot. You can motion him out. You can split him out wide. That sounds kind of like the versatility that Bryant has. Is that kind of what you're getting at and what you've seen?
Yeah, that's exactly what I see. And a guy like Kevin Stefanski is also well aware of his limitations as a blocker. And not only is he aware of that, he's aware of what a tight end that can't block signals to a defense. When a defense sees that, they think pass. So you could even be in a heavy formation, but if you see Harrison Bryant out there, you're not buying the run because the young man isn't going to be a good run blocker yet. But what Kevin Stefanski can do is potentially put him in an up-back, H-back type of formation, and he can motion him and use him as an angle blocker, and he's just going to have to work and scheme up better ways to have him have advantageous blocking situations rather than just hat-on-hat type schemes. So that's one way to overlook his deficiency as a blocker right now and keep him as just an overall versatile player that can line up anywhere. I don't know if he's ready to be split out wide against NFL corners either, but it's something he's capable of. And as this young man learns more and more about the NFL game, continuing his trajectory that he had in college as the best tight end in football. And for him to be FAU's, I just want to say this quick, FAU's first unanimous All-American, Devin Singletary played there at the Buffalo Bills, and Singletary, I think it was like in 2016 or 17, led all of college football in touchdowns, scored and points. Not like usually kickers do that. He had 198 points, and he wasn't even an unanimous All-American. So that says a lot about the type of player Bryant is and what he accomplished in his college career. And you like to see that when you're evaluating talent. And if you're going off the pedigree and the lower expectations, Bryant's going to be a guy that's going to be able to take advantage of the spots that Kevin Stefanski puts him in.
The other thing that you mentioned there is he obviously needs to put on some weight. Given the fact that he did play tackle in high school, putting on weight and muscle mass when you get into an NFL facility, I'd much rather have that than have to teach the guy how to run block. This guy's going to know how to run block. It's just going to be a matter of, Harrison, we're going to lock you in the weight room for 6 or 7 months, and when you get 15 pounds on, come see us, and you're going to find the football. Is that accurate to think that way?
Yeah, I really, a lot of truth there, because think of a guy like Ben Barch, who was the D3 offensive tackle from St. John's, Minnesota school. His story, the whole combine, and they even did a segment on it during the NFL combine in Indianapolis, was he just put on the weight to play tackle and to make it to the NFL. He had these giant smoothies and these shakes and like 6 eggs in them and all this crap, and he put on like 50, 60 pounds, something like that. So to me, yes, putting on the weight, look, everyone's body's different, but putting on the weight is what these NFL facilities are for and what these trainers are paid the big money for. What you can't teach is just the natural instincts and feel that a tackle has, and the mindset to play tackle. He clearly has that in him. And when you do watch his tape, when he does get on someone, when he gets an advantage on an angle or kind of gets his shoulder up on somebody, he drives them and he finishes his block. So he's got that natural grit and that want to block. Like you said, the weight's the only thing missing, and I don't think it's going to take that long for him to get that weight. This is going to be one of the more interesting prospects to watch throughout his time in Cleveland.
Let me ask you this. If he had another 15 pounds, do you think there's any way that he is available in the 4th round, or is he likely the top? Is the size the reason he was, the 4th round pick? If my guess is if he had 15, 20 pounds on him, he's probably a late 1st round pick.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. The tight end class was tricky this year. I think he was like the 6th tight end taken or something. Green Bay took a young man out of Cincinnati who's more of a fullback, and I guess we're just going to call him Kyle Juszczyk of the NFC now. But so yes, if there was a way for him to be the definitive number 1 tight end by looking the part more rather than just kind of a skinny, split out wide receiver, quite frankly, yes, he likely climbs up this board. But I think it's a testament to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's scouting department that they were able to see what this kid did really well, look past the weight, assume they can take care of that, and just find a smart football player that's going to do what he's asked, and then be able to make plays with the balls in his hand. This young man caught 65 balls, 1,000 yards, and was the focal point of the offense. He's got some George Kittle comp with the ball in his hands. He doesn't have the 40 time. Kittle was like 4.55, and I think he's 4.74, so he doesn't have the breakaway speed, but his 10-yard splits are nice. He was 86th percentile there. So this young man can win in space and make some plays with the ball in his hand. So kudos to the Browns for overlooking the weight, overlooking what he couldn't do, realizing what he can do, and potentially finding a steal where they did.
Yeah, and to dovetail off of that, if the Browns are able to identify guys that fit into their system like that, that's what this franchise has been lacking since it came back, quite frankly, in 1999.